Elkins.
Thank you.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury, and opposing counsel. My name is Will Damon, and I'll be delivering the direct examination of Detective Jordan Markowitz, the cross-examination of Avery Becker, as well as the closing argument. Your Honor, at this time, our witnesses would like to introduce themselves.
Go right ahead.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury, my name is Vi Wing, and I am Detective Jordan Markowitz.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury, my name is Jet Fisher, and I am Kyle Kuzak.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury, my name is Christian Murray, and I am Alex Fuentes.
Great, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and begin with Team Greece, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Good evening, Your Honor, opposing counsel, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Abby Miller, and I will be performing the direct examination of Detective Jordan Markowitz, the cross-examination of Detective Jordan Markowitz, the direct examination of Taylor Perkins, as well as the closing argument.
All right, and Ms. Miller, I don't think you had your camera turned on. I just want to make sure that everybody's videos are working. So Team Greece, if you wouldn't mind turning on your cameras at this time so that we can see you all.
Yes, Your Honor, I apologize. I believe I'm having slight issues. Did it come on now?
It is now.
Okay,
And
wonderful.
I'll tell you, this happens in real court all the time right now. All right, go ahead. Please continue with Team Greece.
Good evening, Your Honor, opposing counsel, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Rachel Yett, and I'll be performing opening statements as well as the direct examination of Professor Blake Van Owen, the cross-examination of Kyle Kuzak. Good afternoon, Your Honor, opposing counsel, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Laura Thompson, and today I'll be performing the direct examination of Avery Becker, the cross-examination of Alex Fuentes, as well as pretrial matters. May our witnesses please introduce themselves?
Yes.
Good evening, Your Honor, and members of the jury. My name is Reham Abdunabi, and today I'll be playing the role of Taylor Perkins.
All right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Chase Elkins, and today
I think we are having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Mr. Elkins. You're muted now, but it sounded a little underwater-ish. Let's see if we can get your audio working.
better.
Go ahead and try again, Chase.
Is that sounding better?
Much better.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Will you tell us the roles that you are performing and playing in this trial?
Yes, I am playing as Professor Van Owen.
We're losing you again, Chase. It sounds like maybe your headphones are not all the way plugged in.
I'm so sorry. Is this sounding better at all?
Much better.
Much better.
Okay, I'll start over. Good afternoon, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Chase Elkins, and today I'll be playing the role of Professor Van Owen.
All right, and we are still cutting out just a little bit. We'll see how it goes when you get to your part. It's okay, we'll figure it out. I think if you're kind of closer to your monitor, maybe that's been helping. It seems like when you're moving backwards, maybe that's where we're losing you a little bit. So we'll test that out when it's your role. Okay, great.
And if you continue to have problems, you can get out and back in, and that seems to help most issues.
Do you want to try that really quick, Mr. Elkins, so that you're not worried about this before we get started? Why don't you do that? Let's have you log out and then just log back in. And again, truly, this happens in virtual court all day.
Yep.
So we'll just give you a chance.
Thank you, Judge.
Of course. Can I ask if everybody has been sworn in yet or not?
No, they,
All right.
Your Honor, would you like our teams to turn on our cameras for being sworn in?
Yes, while you're being sworn in, please. And I am keeping my eye out for Mr. Elkins.
okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
may our witnesses continue introducing themselves?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut them off. Please go right ahead.
Oh, you're totally fine.
Good evening, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Emma Klausner, and today I will be playing the role of Avery Becker.
Did I miss any other witnesses?
I do not believe so, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see. Okay, Chase is back. I'm letting him in right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, Mr. Elkins, let's see if we've got your audio working again.
Hi, I'm so sorry about this.
It's okay.
Oh, that's great.
It sounds much better now.
Awesome.
Okay, great. All right. At this time, I will ask that all the members in the gallery and all the members of the teams please stand for the swearing in an effort to maintain a level of professionalism and to uphold the code of ethical conduct during and after these mock trial proceedings. All members of the gallery, scoring panels, and teams shall stand for the swearing in for the oath of code of ethical conduct. Team members, please raise your right hands. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and the rules of the mock trial competition?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Witnesses, do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Gallery members, including teacher and attorney coaches, family members, and friends, please raise your right hands. Do you promise to represent yourselves as positive role models and to behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round?
There
All
should be, but.
Scoring panelists, please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and as objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition? All right. I will let the parties know that I will allow for direct examination, cross-examination, and redirect. There will not be recross examination. Okay, let me just check and make sure we don't have anything else that I need to go over before we begin.
Your Honor,
Yes.
the prosecution has some preliminary matters to attend to.
All right. Go ahead from the prosecution, please.
Your Honor, on behalf of both teams, we ask that my co-counsel and the opposing counsel post their rosters and case materials in the Zoom chat so that we have exchanged team rosters and case materials.
All right. And are both teams able to do that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. That seems like a reasonable request. I will ask that you post your rosters and your case materials in the chat. Any additional pretrial matters, Ms. Inks?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, we also acknowledge stipulated facts that they've been entered. Both teams agree to them as they are have been agreed upon during this case, and that my opposing or my co-counsel will post them in the Zoom chat as well for both teams and for yourself and the jury.
All right, thank you. Ms. Thompson, is that agreeable?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Inks, any additional pretrial matters?
Yes, Your Honor. Pursuant to the 2020-2021 Colorado mock trial rules 7.4, when an exhibit is shown to a witness, a member of the examining attorney's team shall make that document available to all participants via the Zoom screen sharing function, as well as all documents posted in this manner will have been deemed to not been shown to the jury until the counselor formally asks to publish them.
All right, Ms. Thompson? Is that
There's no
agreeable?
objection. Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Inks?
Your Honor, we recognize that sound quality and internet connectivity may vary during this trial due to the Zoom platform, and ask that whenever someone occurs, or if there's a problem that occurs, that the court pause proceedings and allow the attorney to re-ask the question, the witness to answer to the full capability of that they can.
All right, Ms. Thompson, your position.
There's no objection to that, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, we request that timekeepers on our side and the opposing counsel side be allowed to post our time remaining in the chat as the trial goes on, so that we as attorneys and witnesses, as well as yourself and the jury, have the correct timing for our openings, closings, directs, and cross-examinations.
Ms. Thompson?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, that will be ordered.
And Your Honor, on behalf of the prosecution, we ask that any time remaining in closing be reserved for rebuttal.
All right, thank you.
No further preliminary matters, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson, do you have any preliminary matters?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to inquire into your preference on screen sharing and how to do so and when to ask.
All right, so typically, and I may ask for a little bit of guidance from this from our monitor as well. Typically in court, the way we do this is once you've laid the foundation and you've asked to admit the exhibit, at that time we would ask you to share it using the share function. I understand here you're concerned that there is a jury present. You can share it as soon as while you are laying the foundation, as if the jury could not see it. And we will all just use our collective imaginations to pretend that the jurors did not see it until you've asked to publish it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Of course.
The defense would also like to let you know that we're all competing from the same school. So between witnesses, we will need time to sanitize the area. So there may be a slight delay.
All right. That's perfectly fine.
Great.
Any additional pretrial matters from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Let's go ahead and begin then with opening statements from the prosecution, please.
A moment to readjust, please.
Of course.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury. My name is Jaden Inks, and my co-counsel and I are here on behalf of the people of the state of Colorado. Today, we are going to illustrate how Avery Becker became undone, unraveled, and in the end, unmasked. On March 6, 2020, a tragedy occurred. Mackenzie Brackman, a beloved coach and well-respected attorney, was found dead in his home. This crime was committed by Avery Becker. On March 6th of 2020, Avery Becker broke into Mackenzie Brackman's home. Unaware of the victim's presence, Avery was surprised to find that Mackenzie Brackman was there. As a result, the two engaged in a physical struggle in which it is our assertion that Avery Becker took a knife and stabbed Mr. Brackman in the upper left shoulder, nicking his aorta and causing him to bleed to death. After leaving him dead in the entrance of his home, Avery Becker then fled the scene. The relationship between Avery Becker and Mackenzie Brackman spanned the 5 years that Avery Becker was spanned the 4 years that Avery Becker was on the mock trial team from her freshman to senior year. In this relationship, bad blood was a constant. Avery Becker and Mr. Brackman constantly disagreed during the time that they knew each other, and often Avery demonstrated a lazy work ethic, was often late to practices, and put her team into multiple difficult positions. Her actions caused Coach Brackman to be hard on Avery and encouraged her to work harder, leading to their relationship becoming undone. Confrontation was not something that Miss Becker liked. And as a result, this led to her to begin unraveling. Avery's dislike of Mr. Brackman grew. As a result of not being able to change her ways, Avery was then demoted to a lower team. To make her way back onto the A team, Avery Becker manipulated her friend Taylor Perkins into quitting so that she would then force Mr. Brackman to reinstate her on the A team. After the regional competition, Mr. Brackman again confronted Avery about her lazy work ethic that put her team into difficult positions and asked her to improve again before the state competition. Avery took this as an attack against her, and as a result, unmasking her true nature, took a permanent marker and wrote across the top of her coach's car, "Worst Attorney Award." This incident was the last straw, the boiling point, and Mr. Brackman kicked Avery off of the team. Avery, now undone, unraveled, and unmasked, committed her crime. Today, we, the prosecution, will put forward 3 witnesses: Detective Jordan Markowitz, Kyle Kuzak, and Alex Cifuentes. Detective Markowitz will testify today to how Mackenzie Brackman was killed, providing you with an expert opinion on homicide investigation from his years of experience at the Denver Police Department. Markowitz will walk you through the events that transpired on March 6th of 2020 that led to Mackenzie Brackman's tragic killing. Detective Markowitz will point out Avery's opportunity in committing her crime by explaining his experience with cell phone technology, and will help you understand how cell data analysis put Avery Becker at the scene of the crime and undid her alibi. Kyle Kuzak will present the evidence that proves a scuffle occurred when Avery Becker broke into Mackenzie Brackman's home. Mr. Kuzak will break down Mr. Brackman's death with his experience at 19 years at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. This evidence will detail the means in which Avery Becker's revenge led to the killing of Mackenzie Brackman. Finally, Alex Cifuentes will testify to her personal knowledge of the defendant as a fellow team member and classmate who was on the same mock trial team as Coach Mackenzie Brackman, and defense witnesses Taylor Perkins and Avery Becker. Alex Cifuentes will help explain what motivated Avery's revenge. Avery Becker is charged with murder in the first degree and second-degree burglary of a dwelling. It is not our duty as the prosecution today to prove to you Avery Becker's intent in killing Mr. Brackman. Instead, we will prove to you that Avery Becker broke into Mackenzie Brackman's home with the intent of criminal mischief, and a death occurred, making her guilty of murder in the first degree and second-degree burglary of a dwelling. Today, the prosecution carries the burden of proof, a burden that we will prove beyond a reasonable doubt by undoing, unraveling, and unmasking Avery Becker. At the conclusion of this trial, we will ask you, the jury, to return a verdict finding Avery Becker guilty of her crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Inks. From the defense.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The less I see, the more I know. Ladies and gentlemen, you're here today because of the loss of Mr. Mackenzie Brackman,
Ms.
a
Inks,
local
can I
defense
stop you?
attorney.
I apologize. I don't think you have your camera on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm saying Ms. Inks.
it's-
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was looking at the wrong screen. I apologize. Miss Yep, can you please start over? I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Is it working now?
It is. It is. You're fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, did you
Sorry.
want my camera on during openings as well, or would you like me to
No, that was completely my mistake.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize. This happens in real court all the time as well. Please begin again.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. The less I see, the more I know. Ladies and gentlemen, you're here today because of the loss of Mr. Mackenzie Brackman, a local defense attorney and the Colorado High School mock trial coach. In March of last year, Mr. Brackman's mock trial team had just won their regional competition and was preparing to go to state when Mr. Brackman was murdered inside of his own home. Now, you're here because the prosecution believes that Avery Becker, a hardworking student, a good person, a committed mock trial participant, a daughter, a friend. You're here because the prosecution believes that Avery Becker did this. You will hear from Avery Becker herself today, and she will tell you that although her and Mr. Brackman had their petty arguments and disagreements surrounding mock trial, she could never hurt him. Avery Becker has no duty to testify to you, and she has nothing to prove to you. She's simply here to clear her name. The defense will also call Taylor Perkins to the stand. Taylor Perkins is Avery Becker's best friend. Taylor will verify she was with Avery Becker almost the entire day of March 6th, and there's no possible way Avery Becker could have committed this crime. The less I see, the more I know Avery has a simple alibi. You'll also hear from Professor Blake Van Owen, a private investigator who is the best at what he does. Professor Van Owen will show us the multiple holes in the prosecution's case and show us that there is reasonable doubt here today. You'll also hear from 3 prosecution witnesses. Kyle Kuzak, a crime scene reconstruction investigator with the same training as our very own Professor Blake Van Owen. Kyle Kuzak will not present you with any hard evidence linking Avery Becker to this crime scene. The less I see, the more I know she wasn't there. Detective Jordan Markowitz was the head detective on this case, and they will tell you how they obtained videos of the intruder entering the home of Mr. Brackman. But the less I see of Avery Becker on these videos, the more I know it wasn't her. You'll hear how the police only thoroughly investigated one suspect. The less suspects I see, the more I know about the police's work on this case. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear about crucial evidence that was lost by the prosecution. The less evidence I see, the more I know the police force did not utilize all of their materials and resources that they could have to conduct a thorough investigation of this case. Lastly, you'll hear from Alex Cifuentes, a high school student much like Avery Becker. Alex was on the mock trial team with Avery Becker, and ladies and gentlemen, as you hear their testimony today, I ask you to look for any bias that you might see. Alex will tell you how they witnessed Avery Becker and Mr. Brackman's small arguments surrounding mock trial. But the less I see, the more I know Alex will not present you with the accurate details of this case today. Now, today, the prosecution has the burden of proof. They must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that it is Avery Becker who committed this crime. But ladies and gentlemen, today you will see the prosecution not meet that burden of proof. You will see the prosecution's witnesses fail to show you Avery Becker is guilty, and you will know she is not guilty. As we go into today's case, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to ask yourselves some questions. Should I be seeing more from the prosecution? Is this all there is I need to see? Is this all there is I need to know about this case? Do I know for a fact Avery Becker is guilty of this crime? Now, the defense doesn't have a burden of proof, but we will show you. The prosecution wants you to see less and feel like you then know more. Today, the defense will present you with our case, and you will see the unbiased facts. You will see our thorough investigations. You will see no lost evidence from us. Today, the defense will present you with a suspect with more real-life motive than Avery Becker, who was never thoroughly investigated, and the defense will show you the unrealisticness of our client committing this crime. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today, Avery Becker, a bright, smart, young high school student, will be convicted of felony murder if you simply walk blindly into this case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we know Avery Becker is innocent, and we ask you to see her as not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. All right, if you'll give me just one moment, please. All right, prosecution, please call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The people would like to call Detective Jordan Markowitz to the stand.
All right.
Good evening. Please state and spell your last name for the record.
Jordan Markowitz, Markowitz.
What do you do for a living?
I am a homicide detective with the Denver Police Department.
How long have you worked for the Denver Police Department?
I've been with DPD for 13 years and have worked as a homicide detective for 7 years now.
What sort of certifications do you have as a detective?
I have a cell phone technology and forensic data recovery certification from the American Academy of Law Enforcement. I earned it by passing a certification test.
What does that certification teach you?
It instructs you on how to acquire and interpret different types of cell phone records and data, cellular data, and cell tower data.
How often do you use your certification?
I've used my certification on a regular basis. In fact, I've used it in over 50 cases and have downloaded the contents of hundreds of phones.
Your Honor, at this time, pursuant to Rule 702, I move to enter my witness as an expert witness in homicide investigation with an emphasis on cell phone technology, provided that my witness has proved her certification, training, and experience.
All right, thank you. Is there any objection or voir dire from opposing counsel?
There is no objection or voir dire, Your Honor.
All right, this witness has been qualified as an expert. You may proceed.
Now, let me take you back to the events on March 6, 2020, the day that Mackenzie Brockman died. Where were you on that day?
Well, on March 6th of 2020, we received a report from a passerby who saw a person possibly passed out at 444 South Flower Street. Officers and I were then called in to investigate the scene.
What type of building is 444 South Flower Street? Is it a business or is it a house?
It is a residential property or as a house.
And when you got to the house at 444 South Flower Street, what did you see?
Well, when officers and I arrived around 2:20 p.m., I noticed that the front door was open. Inside the front door, we found the victim deceased. The victim was later identified through his ID as Mackenzie Brockman. Additionally, a large knife was found near the victim.
And Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibits 1 and 5 at this time.
Go right ahead.
And Detective, what are these?
These are the photo of the victim, Mackenzie Brockman, as well as the knife found near the victim's body.
And are these fair and accurate representations of what you and your team saw on March 6th?
Yes, they are accurate.
Your Honor, at this time, I move for the admittance of Exhibit 1 and 5 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor. I just ask that opposing counsel continues to screen share as they continue their examination.
All right, thank you. Peoples 1 and 5 will be admitted.
Thank you. Detective, could you describe how you found Mackenzie Brockman?
Yes, I found Mackenzie Brockman face down in a large pool of blood as his shirt was soaked with blood around the upper left back and shoulder area. The large knife was found near the body along with blood spatter on the walls and ceilings, which made it obvious that the victim was stabbed.
Thank you, co-counsel. You can stop screen sharing. After examining Mackenzie Brockman, what did you do?
Well, after that, I noticed a Ring doorbell camera that led me around the residence, a side gate which was unlatched. I also noticed that the back door was open and unlocked.
What did you do after you found the back door unlocked?
I then entered through the back door into the kitchen to find the residence in slight disarray. There was a broken plate on the floor, a knife drawer open, and blood drops on the floor.
And after you examined the kitchen, what did you do?
I continued to search the residence and noticed nothing of value was missing and there was no other victims.
And after you searched the residence and the kitchen, what else did you do?
Well, I noticed Mr. Brockman had a phone, so I downloaded the contents of his phone, which gave me access to his Ring security system account. On that account, I found 4 videos of a hooded and masked individual that entered the residence.
And after you searched the Ring video cameras and the phone, what else did you do?
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation.
The question is, what else did you do? What is your response?
Your Honor, I apologize. I believe I unmuted just a few seconds after I meant to, so I will just withdraw my objection at this time and next time be a little more timely with that.
All right, thank you. Please continue.
So after you searched his phone and the Ring video camera, what else did you do?
Well, I also found that Mr. Brackman was a coach for a school activity called Mock Trial. I later spoke with a student named Alex Fuentes, who gave me screenshots of a text message conversation between her and another student named Avery Becker.
Your Honor, at this time, permission to show the witness has been marked as Exhibit 14.
Yes.
And Detective, what are these?
These are the screenshots I received from Alex Fuentes.
And are these fair and accurate representations of the conversation between Avery Becker and Alex Fuentes?
Indeed, they are accurate.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter Exhibit 14 into evidence.
Is there any objection or voir dire as to People's Exhibit 14?
There is, yes. I object on the grounds of hearsay.
All right, counsel, your response to that objection?
Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 801D2, as these are statements made by Avery Becker, these are statements made by a party opponent and definitionally are not hearsay.
All right, overruled.
Yeah.
People's Exhibit 14 will be admitted.
And Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibits 1, 5, and 14 to the jury.
Yes.
And Detective, when you were examining these screenshots, what, in your expert opinion, what do they suggest?
It suggests that Avery Becker planned on breaking into the residence of Mackenzie Brockman to trash it.
And after you received the screenshots, what did you do?
So I then tried to contact Avery Becker to interview her, but I was blocked by her attorney. So I wasn't able to, but after that, I then got a warrant to search Ms. Becker's phone.
And with that warrant, what did you find with Avery Becker's cell phone?
I didn't actually find Ms. Becker's phone, as I learned that Ms. Becker's phone had been lost since March 5th. So I then was prompted to get a court order to search Ms. Becker's cell provider records instead.
And what did you find with these cell provider records?
I was then able to access call detail records, or CDRs for short.
And can you clarify for the jury, what is a call detail record?
Of course, CDRs are records that a service provider collects when a phone connects to a cell tower. So if you looked at a nearby tower, you can actually pinpoint where a phone is within the coverage area of 180 degrees. So while those CDRs don't provide what is said in these communications to the tower, it can tell when a call or text message was sent out or received and how long a call would last. But most importantly, it identifies which cell tower that phone communicated with.
And how do cell phones interact with cell towers?
Well, that's a complicated algorithm that determines which cell tower a phone communicates to, but most of the time it connects to the nearest cell tower. However, it can connect to a different tower if the nearest one is full and overloaded, but that is highly unlikely.
Now, what information did you find with Avery Becker's call detail records?
Well, on March 6th of 2020, the day of Mr. Brackman's homicide, Avery Becker's phone received numerous communication that went through cell tower 1227-3, tower 1191-1, and tower 1197-7.
Objection, Your Honor. Facts not in evidence.
Your response?
Your Honor, this witness is bringing in these cell towers as she has the knowledge under 703 to bring in this opinion. However, if she's referencing any exhibits that these might be on, I'm moving in to get that exhibit admitted here shortly.
All right, thank you. Overruled. You may proceed.
Would you like to continue with your answer, Ms. Markowitz?
Yes, as I was going to say, I actually created a diagram that detailed all these CDRs.
Your Honor, this time permission to show the witness has been marked as Exhibit 15.
Yes.
And Detective, what is this?
This is the diagram I created that details all the CDRs on March 6th leading up to the time of Mr. Brockman's homicide.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of your diagram?
Indeed it is.
Your Honor, at this time I move for the amendments of Exhibit 15.
Any objection to the admission of People's 15?
No objection, Your Honor.
15 will be admitted.
Your Honor, move to publish at this time.
Yes.
And Your Honor, at this time, I ask permission for my witness to annotate on the document using the Zoom tools and to help the jury understand her expert opinion regarding these call detail records.
Go ahead.
So, Detective, can you elaborate on those call detail records on your diagram?
Of course. So at 12:47 p.m., Avery Becker's phone received a text at cell tower 1227-3, which is in the Ms. Becker's house is in the area of the cell tower coverage. And then at 12:55 p.m., the phone received another text at cell tower 1191-1, which would correspond with Ms. Becker's most logical route along Rock Creek Parkway to Mr. Brackman's house.
And so what do these communications with the cell towers signify or indicate?
So as I said, that it would be the most logical route from Miss Avery Becker's home along the most logical route of Rock Creek Parkway to Mr. Brackman's residence, as I have indicated.
Okay, and after you analyzed these call detail records, were there any other call detail records that were on Ms. Becker's phone?
Yes, there were. So at 1:05 p.m., a call was received, and then at 1:06 p.m., another call was received, and then a final text message was sent at 1:17 p.m. All these communication went through cell tower 1197-1, which is in the vicinity of Mr. Brackman's home.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter this as Exhibit 15B for demonstrative purposes.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 15B will be admitted.
And I move to publish, Your Honor.
Yes.
And Detective, with the entirety of these call detail records, what does it indicate?
Well, according to the record, so on the date of March 6th, so between 12:45 to 12:50 p.m., Avery Becker was most likely at home, and then she left to drive to Mackenzie Brockman along Rock Creek Parkway.
Objection, Your Honor. I object on the grounds of facts not in evidence once again. I'm happy to explain my objection further if that would be helpful.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm objecting on the grounds of facts not in evidence because even though this exhibit shows us the location of Miss Becker's phone on March 6, 2020, there is no clear indication on the exhibit itself, which opposing counsel is pulling from, that shows us Miss Becker's location herself.
All right. Your response, counsel?
Your Honor, this is laying for the foundation and entering these facts into evidence through the testimony of Jordan Markowitz with how she perceived it and in her expert opinion.
All right, the objection is overruled. I will note for the parties that the testimony is saying that the defendant was the one traveling this route, but the court will ask that the witness indicate that it is the defendant's phone that followed this route, but rather than saying it was the defendant herself.
Would you like to finish your response, Ms. Markowitz?
Can I restart for the jury to easily understand?
Sure.
Yes.
So, according on March 6th, between 12:45 p.m. and 12:50 p.m., with Avery Becker's phone was most likely at home, and then it traveled along the Rock Creek Parkway. Then from 1:05 to 1:17 p.m., Avery Becker's phone was at Mr. Brockman's residence.
And what factors did you rely upon on coming to this conclusion?
Well, I relied upon my training and certification to thoroughly investigate Mr. Brackman's homicide and followed and gathered the evidence.
And since you gathered all the evidence, do you have a conclusion on who broke into Mackenzie Brockman's residence?
Yes, I do.
And before you tell us that opinion, what factors did you rely upon?
So I relied upon all the evidence I gathered in this case, but I relied heavily on the CDRs since it suggests that Avery Becker's phone was in the vicinity of Mr. Brockman's house. Additionally, the screenshots suggest that Avery Becker planned to break in and trash the property of Mr. Brackman.
And are those factors reasonably relied upon by other experts or detectives at your workplace?
Yes, of course they are.
And what is that opinion, Ms. Markowitz?
It is
absolutely clear that Avery Becker broke into Mackenzie's residence to burglarize and vandalize the property. However, this plan was undone when Mr. Brackman confronted Miss Becker. Then an altercation occurred between the victim and Miss Becker that resulted in Avery Becker fatally stabbing Mackenzie Brackman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you, counsel. Cross-examination, please.
Good evening, Detective.
Hello?
You were called to the scene of 444 South Flower Street on March 6, 2020, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
And you were called because a passing motorist had called 911.
Yes, that's right.
This passing motorist had reported seeing a body passed out on the porch of 444?
Yes, as I stated in my testimony.
But when you arrived, the body was face down within the residence.
Yes, they were possibly seen there from the motorist, but yeah.
But just to clarify, the body was found inside the house, not on the porch when you arrived?
No, but as the motorist passed by, they could have mistaken where the Mr. Brockman was.
Just for the sake of clarity, the body was not in the same location that
Your
it
Honor,
had.
asked and answered.
Your response,
Your
Ms.
Honor. I am rephrasing my question. I am asking for the sake of clarity, and so I believe that this does not fall under asked and answered, as I am not asking the exact same question that I did previously.
The objection is overruled.
Okay, Detective, I'll just go ahead and restate my question once again. Just for the sake of clarity, the body was not in the same position when you arrived as it had been when it was reported.
Yes, then.
Okay, I will direct your attention to exhibit number 1 now as I screen share. Okay, and Detective, are you able to see exhibit 1 here?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. I'll also direct your attention to exhibit 2. Do you?
Objection, Your Honor. Facts not in evidence.
Counsel, exhibit 2 has not been admitted at this time. Would you like to lay a foundation for the admission of exhibit 2?
Yes, Your Honor. I was only scrolling down to exhibit 2 in order to lay that proper foundation and then consequently enter it. So yes, I would like
Please
to.
do. All right, thank you.
Okay. And Your Honor, I would also like to do the same for exhibits 3 and 4. So is it okay if I show exhibits 3 and 4 to the detective before entering them?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so your detective, do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And what does it appear to be of?
The victim, Mackenzie Brockman, deceased in his poor blood.
And does it appear to be an accurate representation of the scene as you saw it?
Indeed it is.
And I will scroll down to exhibit 3 now. Your Honor, I will just ask to admit all of these exhibits at once. And so I'm just going to go through before I do that.
That's fine.
Okay. Detective, do you recognize exhibit 3 here?
Yes, I do.
And what does it appear to be of?
It is a closest shot of the victim, Mackenzie Brockman.
And does it appear to be an accurate representation of the scene as it was when you arrived?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I will now scroll down to exhibit 4. Do you recognize this exhibit?
I do.
And what does this photograph appear to be of?
Of the victim, Mackenzie Brockman.
And does it appear to be an accurate representation of the scene as it was when you arrived?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, defense now moves to admit exhibits 2, 3, and 4.
Any objection to the admission of 2, 3, and 4?
None at this time, Your Honor.
All right, exhibits 2, 3, and 4 will be admitted.
And Your Honor, I move to publish exhibits 2, 3, and 4.
Go ahead.
Okay. Detective, I will now direct your attention back to exhibit number 1. Here you can see Mr. Brackman's body, yes?
Yes, I can.
You can see it passed out on the residence of Mr. Brack, or his residence floor.
Yes, but deceased, not passed out.
Yes. And you can see his arm resting above his head in this sort of fashion?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and so his hand appears to be directly above his head?
Yes.
Okay, I'll direct your attention to exhibit number 4 now. Here we can once again see Mr. Brackman's body dead on the floor of his residence.
Yes, deceased.
And we can see his right hand in this photograph, yes?
Yes.
And it appears to be laying directly to the side of his head, yes?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so this hand is not in the same position that it was as we saw in exhibit 1?
It appears not.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm going to stop screen sharing now. And so you took other photographs at the scene, you and other officers present.
Yes, my team did.
Okay, but not all of these photographs are available for us to see here today.
No, unfortunately not, as they were corrupted and we weren't able to recover them.
So these photographs became corrupted within the hands of the police?
Yes, as the camera wasn't, and as I previously stated.
Okay, but just for clarity, these photographs became corrupted while they were in the police's hands.
Unfortunately.
Your Honor, asked and answered. This is the exact same question Counselor just asked.
Ms. Miller, your response?
I rephrased my question slightly at the end. While I believe it was a very similar question, it wasn't the exact same.
All right, the objection is overruled.
And so these corrupted photographs were of blood splatter near Mr. Brackman's body?
Yes, they were.
As well as blood drops around his body?
Yes, they were.
And so because we don't have these photographs here today, there are photographs that the jury will not be able to see?
Unfortunately so.
Okay, I'll direct your attention back to the CDRs, or call detail records, that were referenced in previous examination. And as I do so, I will once again screen share, this time screen sharing exhibit 15A. Just a moment. As I screen share, are you able to see this, detective? Let me zoom out for you.
I am.
Okay. And you can see on this exhibit 2 locations marked in the range of the first cell tower, marked Rollins House and Becker's house.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And both of these locations appear to be within the range of the same tower?
Yes, that's right. South Tower 1227-3.
And detective, you don't have any evidence that Miss Becker was in possession of her phone on March 6th?
No, but it's highly unlikely as a teenager to leave their phone.
But as you stated on previous examination, Miss Becker had lost her phone on March 5th, 2020, yes?
I learned that Miss Becker has lost it, but I can't confirm nor deny if she did or not.
Okay, but just for the sake of clarity for the jury, you learned that Miss Becker had lost her phone on March 5th, 2020?
Yes, as I said in my testimony.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor. Detective, in your expert opinion, what is the likelihood that Avery Becker had her cell phone?
Highly likely, as a teenager doesn't often forget their phone.
And detective, when your photos got corrupted, did you mean for them to be corrupted?
Of course not. We tried recovering them, but we weren't able to recover them.
Were they the only photos you used in your expert opinion?
No, they weren't, as I relied on other evidence, but as well as the photographs of Mackenzie Brockman.
And were these the only pieces of evidence in your investigation?
No, they were not, as I relied on the text message conversation between Avery Becker and Alex Fuentes, as well as the car detail records.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions. And barring any recross, I ask that my witness be allowed to step down from the stand.
Thank you, Detective. You may step down. From the prosecution, your next witness, please.
Your Honor, at this time, the prosecution would like to call Kyle Kuzak to the stand.
All right. And whenever you're ready, Mr. Marr.
Yes, Your Honor. Please state your name and spell the last for the record.
My name is Kyle Kuzak. That's spelled Kuzak.
And Mr. Kuzak, what is your profession?
I am a Colorado Bureau of Investigation certified crime scene reconstruction investigator, or if that's too much of a mouthful, CSR will suffice.
And how long have you been investigating crime scenes?
Let's see, I have 19 years of experience, with the most recent 3 being with the City of Denver.
Your Honor, at this time, pursuant to Rule 702, I would move to enter Kyle Kuzak in as an expert in crime scene reconstruction to render his opinions in that area.
Any objection or voir dire?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to perform a brief voir dire.
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator, you haven't testified to any education today, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay, and you haven't testified to any degrees that you've gotten in crime scene reconstruction?
I have not.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I do not object to this witness being entered as an expert.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cusack will be recognized as an expert. Please continue.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Kuzak, why are you here today?
I'm here today to testify to my findings at the scene of the homicide of Mackenzie Brackman at 444 South Flower Street. I also conducted a 5-step methodology for this case.
Mr. Kuzak, can you elaborate on your methodology?
Yes, I approach all of my CSR work in these 5 steps: recognition and documentation, collection of evidence, evaluation of evidence, hypothesis and testing, as well as reconstruction.
Can you tell me about your documentation step?
Yes, for documentation, I created a witness tracking spreadsheet with regards to all of the witnesses and suspects. This was used as a way to summarize key points of information for this case as well.
And can you elaborate on your witness tracking spreadsheet, Mr. Kuzak?
Yes, this tracking spreadsheet was created through my own personal knowledge of the case, as well as the knowledge of my peers. It was also made through all of the evidence and all of the events that occurred.
Your Honor, may I show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 17?
Yes, go right ahead.
It should be coming up shortly. Do you recognize this image, Kyle?
Yes, I do.
And what is this?
This is the witness tracking spreadsheet that I created.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of that witness tracking spreadsheet you made?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I move to admit Exhibit 17 into evidence.
Any objection or voir dire?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 17 will be admitted.
Your Honor, I also move to publish to jury.
Go ahead.
Kyle, going off of this exhibit, how did you create your witness tracking spreadsheet?
This witness tracking spreadsheet was an organized listing of all evidence, photos, interview reports, as well as any other bits of information that were related to the case.
And you mentioned interview reports on here, but with who?
These interview reports were with Taylor Perkins, Avery Becker, Alexa Fuentes, Brandon Digby, and Josiah Mitchell.
And what did Avery bring up in her interview?
Avery had brought up a statement that said she started a text exchange between herself and Taylor Perkins. Taylor supported this statement in her interview as well.
Moving forward, the exhibit can be taken down as well. Moving forward, what were your next steps?
Collection of evidence and evaluation of evidence. These revolved around organizing all events as well as creating an analysis of them.
And so sorry, I totally forgot to ask. What date did that text exchange happen between, or what day did Avery say the text exchange happened?
Oh, that text exchange was on March 6th, which was the day of the murder.
Thank you. So sorry, it slips the mind. And Mr. Cusack, what was your next step in the investigation?
My next step was the hypothesis and testing. In this step, I created a hypothesis as well as analyzed all the evidence. All of my conclusions from this are based off of scientific principles as well as the scientific method. Using this hypothesis and the analysis of the evidence, we're able to understand what really occurred on March 6th, 2020.
And Mr. Cusack, what was your final step?
My final step revolved around looking back on my initial report, peer review from my colleagues, as well as creating a final reconstruction.
And do you normally have peers review your work?
Yes, it is very important to me that my work is of the utmost quality through the critiques of my peers.
And Mr. Cusack, what type of conclusions did you come to after completing your methodology?
I came to the conclusion, after all of the methodology was complete, that the intruder had entered Mackenzie Brackman's home in an attempt to commit a burglary, where an altercation unraveled between the intruder and the victim, leading to the intruder wrapping the victim in a bear hug, stabbing him with a knife in the shoulder blade, leaving the scene, and eventually Mr. Brackman passing away through bleeding out after he pulled the knife wound.
And finally, Mr. Cusack, in your opinion, is this the only series of events to explain what happened on March 6th, 2020?
Yeah. Yes. My conclusions are based on sufficient facts and data. They're also a product of reliable principles and sources. These are the only possible conclusions for the events that occurred on March 6th, 2020.
No further questioning at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. You investigated the scene at 444 South Flower Street, didn't you?
That is correct.
And when you got there, you saw a body, right?
Yes, it was near the front door.
And you saw a knife, didn't you?
Yes, the knife was also in a pool of blood.
Okay, and your theory is this knife came from Mackenzie Brackman's knife block, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, but you are aware that this knife is a different brand than all of the other knives in the knife block, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Your response?
Your Honor, this is relevant because this is a key part in this investigator's investigation, and relevance is a low bar.
Overruled. You may ask and you may answer.
Thank you, Your Honor. You're aware this knife was a different brand than the other knives in the knife block, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You never considered it a possibility that this knife was brought with the intruder, did you?
No, I did not. It's very likely that the knife came from the knife block.
Okay. You reviewed all the police photos in this case, right?
I did.
And would you recognize them if shown to you today?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, permission to show this witness Exhibit 1, which has already been entered into evidence?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And in this photo, you can't see a knife, can you?
No, you cannot.
Okay, thank you. I'm now scrolling down to Exhibit 2, which has previously been entered into evidence. You can't see a knife in this photo, can you?
No, you cannot.
Okay, I'm now scrolling down to Exhibit 3. You cannot see a knife in this photo either, can you?
What is? This is wasting the jury's time.
What is your response, Ms. Yet?
Your Honor, these are all different photos and different angles of the body, and they do show different parts of the crime scene, and I'm simply trying to establish the foundation for my next line of questioning.
Overruled. You may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor. You can't see a knife in Exhibit 3, can you?
No, you can't.
Okay, I'm now scrolling down to Exhibit 4. You can't see a knife in this photo either, can you?
Also, no.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to stop screen sharing. Investigator, you didn't think it might have been helpful to have a photo of the body and the knife in the same photo, did you?
Objection, Your Honor. Ambiguous questioning.
Your
I'm sorry,
response,
Your
Ms. Yap?
Honor. I will rephrase my question.
Okay.
Investigator, you didn't think it would be helpful to the jury to present them with a photo with the knife and the body in the same photo, would you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You reviewed the ring videos to this case, didn't you?
Yes, as well as all of our other evidence.
Okay. And you state that the general height and build of the intruder has the same height and build of the defendant, right?
Yes.
Okay, but you could say Avery Becker has a pretty average build, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, you could say the intruder in the video has a pretty average build, right?
Yes, they do match.
Okay, thank you. And you can't see any identifying marks on the person in the video, can you?
No, you cannot. They were wearing a mask.
Okay, and you can't see any identifying, or I'm sorry, you can't tell the race of the person in the video, can you?
No, you cannot.
Okay, and you can't tell the gender of them either, can you?
No, you cannot.
Okay. Your theory is Mr. Brackman was stabbed in a bear hug-like motion, right?
Yes.
Okay, you believe this intruder was able to reach over Mr. Brackman's shoulder and shove a knife into their back 7.5 inches while in this bear hug, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Very brief. Mr. Cusack, do you need the face of a suspect in order to prosecute them?
No, you do not.
And do you believe that a general height and build can lead to the correct suspect?
Yes, I do. I believe that it's very helpful in a case to have solely the height and build because you can match it to whoever the intruder may be.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor. I ask that my witness is able to step down from the stand.
Yes, you may step down. From the prosecution, your next witness.
Your Honor, the prosecution calls Alex Fuentes to the stand.
All right.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Alex Fuentes, Sifuentes.
And Ms. Fuentes, why are you here today?
I'm here because something really terrible happened to my mock trial coach, Mr. Brackman, and I'm just trying to be of any aid by giving any info that could help unmask the killer.
And how were you introduced to mock trial?
My freshman year, Avery introduced me to the mock trial team, and since then I've been pretty avid about it.
And how do you know Avery Becker?
Well, like I said, they were the one that introduced me to the mock trial team.
If I asked you to point out the defendant in the courtroom today, could you?
Yes, I could.
Your Honor, I ask that Avery Becker turn on her camera to be identified.
Ms. Becker, if you can turn your camera on, please. All right, well, we're waiting for the camera to turn on. If we can pause the time. All right, thank you.
Would you please describe for me the defendant here today?
I'm sorry, I can't see them right now.
Ms. Becker, if you can turn your camera back on for a moment. All right, if we can pause time again, it looks like we are having some technical difficulties here.
Just trying.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry. It seems to be that the witness is having some camera trouble.
That's fine. And we have the camera up now. So go ahead.
Could you please identify for me the witness today?
I'm sorry, I'm still having the same issue. I can't see the.
All right. Let me ask if the parties are the parties stipulating to the identification of Ms. Becker?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
All right.
I can see her now.
All right. Thank you.
Would you-
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, please.
As you can see, she is wearing a blazer and glasses.
And how do you know that that is her?
Well, we've been on the same mock trial team since my freshman year, so I'm quite sure I know what Avery looks like.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that this witness has been identified as the defendant.
The record will reflect.
Has your relationship with Avery changed since freshman year?
I guess you could say that our relationship has become more strained in a sense. During our last season of competition, Avery had unmasked her true character and did away with her facade. She had really lost the team player mentality that the rest of us had, would constantly show up late to practice and would blatantly disrespect Coach Brackman.
And you mentioned that you don't think Avery treated your coach with respect. Why is that?
Mr. Brackman was an amazing coach that always pushed every single team member to reach their max potential and improve the team, especially Avery. I really looked up to him.
You mentioned that Mr. Brackman would reprimand Avery for her behavior. What effect did this have on the relationship between Avery and Mr. Brackman?
Avery.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of personal knowledge. May I
Your
explain my
response?
objection? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ms. Inks, your response?
Yes, Your Honor, as my witness has spent years, I think 3 years on the team with Coach Mackenzie Brackman and Avery Becker, I think that based on her observation and her knowledge of both Avery being friends with her and being very close with her coach, that she would have the personal knowledge to expand upon this.
All right,
Your
the
Honor, may I
objection is
respond?
overruled. No, thank you. The objection is overruled.
You mentioned that Mr. Brackman would reprimand her for her behavior. What effect did this have on the relationship between Avery and Mr. Brackman?
Avery hated Mr. Brackman for constantly getting on her about her work ethic. I would say that the two have always had bad blood.
How did Avery respond to Mr. Brackman's critiques?
Avery refused to do what was asked of her and would often try to play the victim. And there was one time, which I would consider the boiling point of their relationship, where Mr. Brackman had confronted Avery, and Avery acted pretty irrationally, if you ask me.
What would you say was this boiling point of the relationship?
Well, Avery had come into practice late like usual, and then at the end of that practice, Mr. Brackman demoted her to B team.
And what happened after Avery got demoted?
After being demoted, Avery somehow got her friend Taylor Perkins to quit the team, which then forced Mr. Brackman to move her back up to A team.
And what happened after your regional competition?
So Mr. Brackman was really upset with Avery, and the two had a conversation at the practice following regionals, and it seemed like Avery was pretty angry, and on her way off campus, she did something I don't think anyone would have expected.
What did she do?
She wrote on the hood of Mr. Brackman's car in permanent marker.
What happened after Mr. Brackman found out?
Time.
All right, that's time. Thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Good evening, Ms. Cifuentes.
Good evening.
You said that you were friends with Avery Becker.
Yes.
You would even consider yourself best friends.
At some point in time, yes.
But you never hung out with Avery outside of practice, did you?
Not all friends hang out all of the time.
So that was a no.
No.
You only hung out inside of mock trial.
Correct.
Yet you still considered yourself to be best friends.
Yes, at the time I did.
We're going to talk a little bit about the text messages that you sent. You were interviewed by the police department?
Yes, I was.
And they asked for your phone?
Yes, but the day that I had went in, I had actually left it because I put it on the charger to ensure that it would be sufficiently charged because there was issues with the battery.
So they weren't able to see your phone?
No, they were not, sadly.
They had you send screenshots, didn't they?
Yes, I did.
And they, just to clarify, they only saw screenshots from your phone. They were never able to handle the actual phone.
No, they were not able to handle the actual phone.
And Ms. Cifuentes, you're aware that there's ways to manipulate text messages?
Yes, I am aware that is possible, but I would never do that.
But again, that was a yes. You're
Yes.
aware. We're going to talk a little bit about March 6th. You don't tell us where you haven't stated today where you were on March 6th, were you? Did you? Sorry.
No, I have not stated that.
And you're aware that Mackenzie Brockman was murdered on March 6th?
Yes, I am aware of that, but I was actually at school that day.
You were at school on March 6th?
Yes, I was.
You were at school, just to clarify, on March 6th?
Yes.
You wrote an affidavit in this case, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And in that you put all relevant and true facts?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, can I ask to pause time while I get the screen share ready? To screen share the affidavit?
You can go ahead and screen share the affidavit. We haven't been pausing time for screen sharing, so go ahead and screen share.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just need to pull this up. I did not have it pulled up.
Your Honor, is for clarification, are they stopping the time? Because I believe that time does not stop for exhibit sharing.
The time should not be stopped at this point.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I will ask that my team members screen share Alex Cifuentes' affidavit.
And I will let the parties know there have been some technical difficulties during this examination. I am going to take that into consideration. Go right ahead.
Ms. Cifuentes, you do not state in your affidavit if you were at school on March 6th.
On that page, no.
You do not state anywhere in your affidavit that you were at school the day of March 6th.
From what I can see as of right now, no, it does not say that.
So just to clarify for the jury, nowhere in this affidavit you state where you were on March 6th, even though to your prior statement you said you were at school.
Like I said, as I can see, no.
Thank you. My co-counsel can stop screen sharing. You're aware that Mackenzie Brockman was murdered on March 6th?
I am aware of that.
And you're aware that in your affidavit, you agreed to put any important and relevant facts to the case?
Yes, that is correct.
Yet you didn't think it was important enough to say where you were on March 6th?
Yes, not, no.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask that time be paused because we did have some trouble with technical issues during the direct examination. I'm going to set my own timer for 1 minute and allow for redirect even though time had run out. Redirect examination, please. And you have 1 minute.
Ms. Fuentes, Exhibit 14 is an example of the screenshots that you had with Avery Becker.
Yes.
Would you recognize these screenshots if I showed them to you?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, may I show the exhibit what has been marked as Exhibit 14?
Yes.
Is this a conversation that you had with Ms. Becker?
Yes, it is.
What is this conversation about?
Well, it was a conversation that I had had with Avery.
Objection, Your Honor, Rule 403.
Your response?
Could you please elaborate on your objection?
Would co-counsel would opposing counsel like me to explain what 403 is?
Yes, please.
So 403 is the cumulative objection, and as this exhibit has already been published, the jury is able to see this conversation and read them themselves, and it would be wasting the jury's time to have this conversation reiterated.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
I am not asking my witness to read directly off of it. I'm asking her to reference the evidence being provided. I'm not asking her to directly state anything from the conversation, just in her own opinion of what happened. Reiterate for the jury to clarify this conversation, what was going on.
The objection is overruled, and we'll end with this question and this answer. Go right ahead.
What was this conversation about?
Well, it was a conversation between Avery and I where Avery had texted me about trying to convince Mr. Brackman to let Avery back onto the team. But at this point, Mr. Brackman was upset about his car, and I had let Avery know that. And she had said that if Mr. Brackman was upset about his car, just wait and see what I do to his house.
Objection, Your Honor. I still object to 403. They're reading exact statements from this exhibit.
The objection is overruled. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if we can go ahead and begin the timers again. Your next witness, please. And this witness may step down.
Honor, at this time, the people are going to rest their case in chief.
All right, thank you. The people have rested. All right, let's go ahead and begin then with the defense. Does the defense intend to call any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would first like to call Taylor Perkins to the stand.
All right. Go ahead.
Please state your name and spell your last for the record.
My name is Taylor Perkins, and Perkins is spelled Perkins.
And did you go to high school, Miss Perkins?
Yes, I went to high school last year.
Where did you go?
I went to Colorado High School.
And to clarify, when did you graduate?
I graduated last year, so 2020.
While at Colorado High School, were you involved in any sort of clubs or extracurriculars?
Yes, I was involved for mock trial for a little bit.
Did you have any friendships on the mock trial team?
Yes, me and my best friend Avery were on the team together.
Were you on the mock trial team for the entirety of your senior year?
No, I wasn't.
And was Miss Becker on the team for the entirety of her senior year?
No, she was kicked off and then COVID happened, so we never actually went to state.
Did you do anything to try and help Miss Becker get back on the mock trial team?
Yes, being the best friend that I am, I stepped down for her so she could have my spot on A team, because mock trial doesn't really mean that much to me, honestly. I didn't want to be a lawyer in the end.
Do you remember the time frame of this? If you remember any specific dates of when you were helping Avery get back on the team?
Yes, this was a month before regionals.
Do you remember a specific date, Miss Perkins?
No.
I'll now direct your attention to March 5th, 2020. Were you spending any time with Avery on this day?
Yes.
What were the two of you doing together on this day?
Well, me and Avery were together that day. She came over to my house after she wasn't let into mock trial, and we just hung out on our phones for a little bit and then decided to go to the mall and the Fry Shack.
While at the Fry Shack, did you see anyone that you knew?
Yes, unfortunately. It didn't go very well, though.
Who did you see?
I saw the whole mock trial team, which was fine because they were all being super sincere to Avery since she was kicked off the team. And then I also saw Alex Cifuentes, which me and Avery sat with Alex for a while.
You mentioned previously that this didn't go very well. Will you explain that to me?
Yeah, well, Alex was just being sincere to Avery in a passive-aggressive way, which didn't come out well since Avery was super emotional of getting kicked off the team. She put in the work for all 4 years, her senior year, and yeah, it was bad because he was just being passively aggressively sincere. And so Avery just left, and she left her phone on the table. She just stormed off into the bathroom, and then I had to sit with Alex.
When Avery came back from the bathroom, did the two of you stick around?
No, we headed out quickly. I was about to punch Alex in the face.
And as far as you remember, do you remember Avery grabbing her phone off the table where Alex Cifuentes was sitting?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'll direct your attention to the next day now, March 6, 2020. Did you spend any time with Avery that morning?
Yeah, me and Avery are always together.
What were the two of you doing when you were together that morning?
Well, she usually picked me up in the morning, especially when we had first period off, and we were gonna go to school, but we didn't.
Why didn't you go to school?
Well, we realized together that Avery had lost her phone, so we decided to go look for it.
Did you go to multiple places to look for Avery's phone?
Yes, I did. I went to all the stores that we had went to the night previously, and then I also went to the Fry Shack and I checked with the afternoon staff. And I was like calling and texting the phone constantly, but like we couldn't hear it at all.
Okay, so just walking that back a little bit, what was the first place that you went to look for Miss Becker's phone?
So first I went to all the stores at the mall that we had went to the night before.
Okay, and when you went to the mall, did you have your phone on you?
Yes, I was calling and texting the phone constantly thinking that I would hear it.
And what was the next place that you went?
We went to the Fry Shack, but we didn't find it there either.
And while you were at the Fry Shack, did you have your phone on you then?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'll now direct your attention to exhibit number 15 as I ask co-counsel to screen share that exhibit. Ms. Perkins, are you able to see exhibit 15 here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I know you're not an expert but from as far as you can see, can you see 3 cone shapes, the red areas?
Yeah, there's like 3 red cones going like that.
Okay. And on the far right of this exhibit, can you see 2 locations marked the mall and Fry Shack?
Yeah, they're like on the side of the left, and they're just not in the red though.
Just to clarify, are they on the right side of this exhibit, Ms. Perkins?
Oh yes, sorry, they're on the right.
Okay. And just going back to something that you said previously, you don't see these 2 locations within the range of either of the red areas?
No, they're not in the red.
Okay, and I'll ask co-counsel to stop screen sharing now. I'll direct your attention back to your mock trial coach now. Who was your coach on mock trial?
My mock trial coach was Mr. Mackenzie Brackman.
And as far as you knew, did Mr. Brackman ever have any sort of relationship with any other student at CHS besides the kids on the mock trial team?
Yeah, Mr. Brackman had a pretty significant relationship with this kid named Blair Rollins.
How did you know of this relationship between the 2 of them?
Well, everybody knew about it because Blair Rollins' dad was actually sentenced to jail for murder, which was like super scary, honestly.
All right, if you give me just one moment. I'm sorry. Can I hear the objection, please?
Objection, Your Honor, improper character evidence.
Your response, Ms. Miller?
Yes, Your Honor. Under Rule 405A, we have established that this evidence is because Ms. Perkins was aware of the reputation of Blair Rollins, as this rumor that circulated surrounding Blair Rollins was part of his general reputation. It falls under the Rule 405A.
And if I'm understanding correctly, the person that was in jail is the father of Blair?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
The objection is sustained.
Okay, I will just move past that then.
Just strike that answer from the record.
The answer will be stricken. You may proceed, Ms. Miller.
Going back to Blair Rollins, separate from his relationship, did you have any knowledge of Blair Rollins having a relationship with anyone else at CHS?
Yes, Blair Rollins was best friends with Alex, which was super surprising because like Blair had the reputation, you could say, of being like a total sociopath or hitman, and then Alex Cifuentes just was like a mock trial participant, so like not super into law and everything.
I'll direct your attention back to Avery Becker now. What was your relationship with Miss Becker?
Me and Avery were best friends.
Did you step down from the mock trial team for Avery?
Yes, I did, but it didn't really mean anything to me because like I didn't want to be a lawyer, and I only joined the mock trial team because Avery was on it, and I would have rather just spent the time hanging out with my friends, and Avery wasn't on the she wasn't on anyway, so I just stepped down. It wasn't a good use of my time.
Yeah, did you feel any regret after stepping down?
No, it was less stress on me.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Perkins, you are Avery Becker's best friend, correct?
Yes, me and Avery are best friends.
You would do anything for Avery.
Anything like step down from the mock trial team that didn't really mean anything to me.
Is that a yes or a no?
I mean, yeah, kinda. Not anything crazy.
And so, and you would say you would do it. You do a lot for Avery, correct?
Yeah, I like stepping down from the team for her because it meant so much to her that I knew.
You support her through anything.
No,
You don't support her through anything?
I don't support her through anything. I mean, nothing crazy. I would never lie to her, especially when somebody's life is at stake. No.
You are here in support of Avery, correct?
Yes.
And you supported her when she got kicked off the team.
Yes, I did because I didn't think that she should have gotten kicked off. It wasn't fair.
And when she was demoted.
Yes.
Moving to March 5th, the day before the murder, you and Avery had went to the Fry Shack.
Yes, we did go to the Fry Shack that night.
Where you saw mock trial kids.
Yeah, we saw mock trial kids.
Even Alex Cifuentes.
Unfortunately.
And Avery got upset, so she stormed off.
Yeah, she stormed off.
And after storming off, you even admit that you wanted to punch Alex in the face.
Yes, Alex was just not being the nicest.
And Avery came back afterwards.
Yeah, she did come back from the bathroom after her break.
Decided to leave.
Yeah, me and her headed out quickly because we did not want to be with Alex Cifuentes anymore.
And you believe she left her phone at the Fry Shack?
Yes, I think so.
The same phone that you refer to as a third kidney.
Yeah, because it was usually never out of reach, but I'm pretty sure she left it.
So you want the jury to believe that Avery Becker left her third kidney on a table, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
Your response, Mr. Marr?
Your Honor, if I may, I'll restate my point in a less argument.
All right, the objection is sustained.
Or I'll just move on, actually. Moving to the day of the murder, March 6th, you were picked up by Avery.
Yeah, she came and picked me up because we had first period off and we already took our lit quiz that week and classes were going to be pretty dry, so we didn't.
And you're the one who alerted Avery to her missing phone, correct?
Yeah.
And you were present for Kyle Kuzak's testimony here today, correct?
Yes.
Where he brought up an interview with the police.
I heard some of it, but I didn't hear the full thing.
He brought up your interview with the police.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But you said you were present for Kyle Kuzak's testimony here today, correct?
Yes, but he was saying a lot of technical things, so I didn't understand most of what he was saying.
You didn't understand when... Never mind. You had an interview with police, correct?
No.
According to Kyle Kuzak's testimony, you had an interview with police, correct?
I mean, I never spoke about anything like that in my affidavit, so I don't know what you're talking about.
But I'm referring to Kyle Kuzak's testimony.
Sorry, he was being super technical and I just didn't understand it.
In the interview that you had, you described a text exchange with Avery Becker.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation. May I explain my objection?
Go ahead.
As my witness has just testified that this never occurred, opposing counsel has not laid proper foundation to allow Ms. Perkins to explain any conversations that happened in this interview, as no foundation was laid that the interview actually occurred.
Your
Your Honor.
response, Mr. Marr?
Your Honor, if I may, in Kyle Kuzak's testimony, he brought up an interview where Avery Becker stated that she had a text exchange with Taylor Perkins on March 6th, 2020, and Taylor backed up that in her own interview. This was stated on Kyle Kuzak's direct examination earlier in the trial, and the witness has already stated that she was present for that exact direct examination.
Your Honor, if I may respond.
What?
This, what opposing counsel is detailing is the details of another affidavit and exhibits that Ms. Perkins herself did not create. And so she does not have not only the foundation here, but not the personal knowledge to know of the happenings within this interview. And so there is still not proper foundation being laid by opposing counsel.
All right, understood. Here's what we'll do. If Ms. Perkins knows the information, then she can answer the question. If she doesn't know the information, then she simply needs to answer that she doesn't know. Please proceed. The objection is overruled.
You were present from Kyle Kuzak's testimony here today.
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Your Honor,
Overruled. Go ahead. Overruled.
when he brought up an interview with the police that you had.
Yeah, I don't understand what Kyle Kuzak was saying because he was being like super experty, so I don't really know.
As well as an interview with Avery Becker.
Sorry, I don't know who he had interviews with.
Where he described a text exchange on March 6th between you two.
The only like text thing that I know about on March 6th was that I was constantly calling and texting Avery's phone while I was looking for it at the mall in the Fry Shack, if that's what you're trying to refer to.
Is that a yes or a no?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
He also described a text conversation, or Avery described a text exchange between you and Avery on March 6th.
Sorry, I'm not understanding your question.
Moving on.
I'm so sorry.
The same day that you were searching for Avery's missing phone.
Yes.
Which you claim she had lost the day before.
Yes, I'm pretty sure she lost it the day before.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor, a brief one. Ms. Perkins, you were with Avery for most of the day of March 6, 2020?
Yes.
Okay. And as you were searching for her phone, you were calling and texting on your own?
Yes, I was calling and texting the phone thinking I would hear it, like from my phone.
Were you doing so in an attempt to find Avery's phone?
Yeah, I thought I would hear it like anywhere, like maybe we had left it in the stores or maybe at the Fry Shack. I thought I would hear it while I was calling and texting it.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions, unless there's an objection.
All right, was there an objection just now, Mr. Marr?
There was, but it was too late. Sorry.
All right, thank you. All right.
Yes, then no further questions.
All right, may this witness step down. All right, your witness may step down. Your second witness, please, from the defense.
The defense calls Professor Blake Van Owen to the stand.
All right.
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, there might be a brief delay as we do have to sanitize the station.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me know that. Just let me know when you're ready. We can go ahead and pause the time.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, the defense calls Professor Blake Van Owen to the stand. Please state your name and spell the last name for the record.
My name is Professor Blake Van Owen, V-A-N space O-W-E-N.
And Professor Van Owen, why are you here today?
I'm here today because the defense hired me.
Why did the defense hire you?
To really show where the prosecution went wrong, or sorry, the police.
Okay, and when did the defense hire you to investigate this case?
Around the time of the murder.
Okay, and what do you do for a living?
I'm a private investigator, and I teach a course about police practices for about 5 years now.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about your experience and your work?
Yeah, I started out as a police officer, then went to be a SRO and as people call it, a mall cop.
Okay, do you specialize in any smaller fields?
Yeah, I would say I specialize in cell tower analysis and crime scene reconstruction, which is perfect for this case.
Okay, can you tell us about your training or experience in those?
Yeah, for crime scene reconstruction, I've gone to multiple professional conferences, the same as Cusack even. And for cell tower analysis, I've testified as an expert witness 5 times before as that.
Okay, and you mentioned you were a police officer. Can you tell us about your experience in that?
Yeah, I was a police officer for around 9 months, and then left that job because of an incident and didn't really agree with the workspace.
And can you tell us more about this class that you teach?
Oh, I would love to. I earned my master's, which I'm just really proud of, in police practices and social justice. And I've been teaching it for about 5 years now to make sure the minds are prepared for it.
Okay, Your Honor, the defense now moves to admit Professor Blake Van Owen as an expert in police practices, crime scene reconstruction, cell tower analysis, and general police investigation tactics.
Any objection or voir dire?
A brief voir dire.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Van Owen, you previously worked at the Aurora Police Department,
That is correct,
but you later quit your job
as I stated.
after only working for 9 months.
Roughly, yeah.
And you have not worked under a police department since.
Not the police department, but I've stayed in the justice system.
And you only worked in a police department for 9 months.
Yeah, very extensive, and I enjoyed it up to a point.
And you haven't worked there in 8 years.
Haven't gone back to the police now.
Or been recertified in their most current practices.
I stay up to date.
But you are unaware of the procedures that have been put in place since you left 8 years ago.
I stay up to date. I teach a class on it. I have to.
Is that a yes or a no?
No, I do stay up to date.
And you were testifying to these exact procedures that you only had 9 months of experience with 8 years ago.
No, I have more than that.
It is your testimony today that you are stating that you have had more than 9 months of experience at the police department 8 years ago?
No, I have had 9 months. What I was stating, sorry if I didn't make myself clear, was that I've had more experience than just those 9 months with police practices and procedures.
But you only worked at the Aurora Police Department for 9 months.
Objection asked and answered.
Your response?
Your Honor, I am clarifying for the jury, as well as it is not the same question that I had asked previously.
All right, I will overrule the objection. Let's wrap up the voir dire, though.
To read it for the jury, you have not worked at a police department in 8 years.
That is correct.
And only had 9 months of experience.
With the police department.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions. I do not object to this witness being entered, as long as they stay within the scope of what they are being entered in.
All right, thank you. This witness will be recognized as an expert. Please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Professor Van Owen, did you get to investigate this case thoroughly?
Not as thoroughly as I wanted to, due to missing photos, but I'll talk about that later.
Okay, did you find any flaws in this case that you got to investigate?
Yeah, I would say I found 5 major flaws.
And what are those?
The first, it'd be the physical evidence on the scene, the missing photos, the text exchange with Cifuentes, Marquitz cell tower analysis, and the unlocated party Blair-Rons.
Okay, can you walk me through those one by one, just starting with the physical evidence? What did you find wrong with that?
Your Honor, calls for narrative.
Your response?
Your Honor, I'm simply having my witness explain their thorough investigation and what they found wrong with the prosecution's case. And as they are an expert in crime scene reconstruction, I think they do get to testify on it.
All right, the objection is overruled. You may ask and you may answer.
Thank you, Your Honor. What did you find wrong with the physical evidence at the scene?
The physical evidence is really pointing towards Kuzak's investigation. I'll start with the scuff marks by the back door. Three major ideas really come to questions. Sorry, three major questions come to mind. Who caused it, what caused it, and when it was caused. And keep in mind that this is one of the core foundations to his investigation.
And what about the knife that was found at the scene?
Kuzak just ignores the fact that it was a mismatched brand and didn't think it was important.
So you disagree with them?
Strongly.
Okay. And while we're on Kuzak's investigation, can you talk to me about how you think his bear hug theory is flawed?
Yeah, the whole struggle idea with the bear hug is, I'll start with this. The main idea with the bear hug was that the intruder and the victim were facing the same way with the intruder in front. And the intruder somewhere in the struggle got a knife over 2 shoulders into his back.
Okay. And that brings us to the second flaw. What was that?
Oh, the missing photos.
Okay. What was wrong with that?
So the missing photos were, as you heard earlier in the testimony of Markowitz, were blood splatter and blood droplet photos. And keep in mind, these are blood photos of a murder case. That is a crucial thing that the jury or me or you will not be able to see today.
Okay. And what about the third flaw, the text from Alex? Why was that a flaw in this investigation?
You heard Markowitz earlier talk about how they have all of this experience and have downloaded over 100 phones, but they decided they're going to trust a high school student and not download their contents today. It's just going to take screenshots that Cifuentes thought was important, not the expert. That's just downright sloppy police work.
Okay. And what about the fourth flaw that you found?
Oh, Markowitz's cell tower analysis. I'll start with this. As you heard earlier, cell towers can be complicated, but keep in mind that they're not an exact pinpoint system like a GPS. It's an idea of an area. And I did the math with my expertise, and the cell towers that were used cover about 34 square miles, a massive range. And it's Avery's phone, not Avery, as you heard even the detectives say.
And what makes you so sure that Avery didn't have her phone?
Oh, Taylor and Avery both verified that they spent the entire day looking for the phone because it was lost the day before the murder.
Okay. And that brings us to the last one. Why was Blair Rollins a flaw in this investigation?
Multiple reasons, but I'll start here. Blair Rollins, as you heard Taylor say, had a somewhat of a relationship with Mackenzie Brackman. His father, Jonathan Rollins, was sent to prison for life just a couple months before this murder. And that can really mess up a high school kid, as I've learned. And Jonathan Rollins, as he was leaving the courtroom, yelled at Brackman that he was going to get him back. And Blair Rollins was there that day.
I'm sorry. And Professor, what do you make of the police investigation on Blair?
There really wasn't one. As you saw on the witness tracking sheet that was brought in earlier, he was an unlocated party. They didn't even really find him, let alone do any investigation work.
Okay, and did you ever conduct an investigation on Blair?
Yeah, I conducted my own partial investigation because it's not my job to locate and find suspects for the prosecution. And in doing that, I came up with 2 big things that was kind of surprising to me, as well as Avery has told me, but with the investigation, Blair Rollins is about the same build and height as Avery themselves. And on top of that, going through the school, Blair Rollins was missing the day of the murder as well.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to start with your knowledge of Kyle Kuzak.
Sure.
You knew Kyle Kuzak before this case?
Somewhat.
In fact, you have worked with him before?
Yeah, same with Markowitz.
even before you were asked to give an opinion on this case.
Yeah, I went to the same conferences as them, the professional ones.
And you still agreed to give an opinion?
Yeah, I generally like him anyways, so there really isn't any worry about, what's the word? I'm sorry, I forget the word, but there's no reason for doubt.
So you
Bias.
agree that you like a man who you find generally egotistical and full of himself.
I mean, yeah, I think my own personal friends can be full of themselves, but it doesn't mean I don't like them.
Moving on. Previously, you worked at the Aurora Police Department,
Yeah, would you say 8 years ago? Yeah.
but later you quit your job.
Mm-hmm.
And you quit your job because of an incident that happened concerning police procedures.
Yeah, it was so unfortunate that the procedure I was using to take down a suspect ended up harming them, and I was just awful, and I did not have that clear conscience after that. So I decided to leave that department and pursue
Police,
new.
police
Sorry, go ahead. It's
practices
okay.
that, in your opinion, were inappropriate.
I mean, inappropriate is a very weird word to use. I would say flawed.
This same incident led to you quitting your job then at the Aurora Police Department.
Yeah, I mean, I was not going to stay there after that. That's just not a smart decision.
And left you with an enduring disdain for police practices.
Yeah.
This disdain for police practices has led to your current role as a crime scene reconstructionist.
I mean, current role, I mean, I'd be an expert in it, and I use it every day through my private investigations, but I don't go work for people like Kuzak.
This disdain for police practices has also led you to be an adversary against police practices as you are here today.
Yeah, I would say I'm a check on the justice system, if I can say so.
And you are being paid, in this case, to develop an alternate theory of what happened to Mr. Brackman on the day of March 6th.
Yeah, I mean, that's my business. I get paid to do what I do.
In fact, you say that you make a pretty good living revealing where the police have dropped the ball.
Yeah, that's what I say in my affidavit.
You not only reviewed the evidence in this case, but conducted your own partial investigation.
Yeah, and sadly, I wasn't able to remove all evidence, as like I said before, and there was corrupted photos.
And that partial investigation suggests that Brackman didn't receive a ring notification when the intruder approached him approached him.
I cannot say for 100% certainty, but I can say it is very more likely that he did not receive a notification, as I am myself a owner of Ring, and I know that can be very annoying for those notifications, as well as that life can get very, hassling, busy. You don't need everything like that.
And that partial investigation suggests that a physical altercation did not occur when the intruder entered the home.
There was if you're talking about the scuff marks, those are not solid, and I do believe that the intruder snuck up on Brackman and surprised him.
And that partial investigation suggests that Mr. Brackman was seated when he was stabbed.
Most likely, he was in some crouched or seated position to stab in the upper shoulder. Way better than the two shoulders.
And that partial investigation suggests that Avery Becker's phone did not connect to the nearest cell phone tower on March 6th of 2020.
I say that like the cell towers, especially where the area of Brackman and Avery's and the whole area of the towers we're using is a very busy area. So it's very likely that pings can go off the different towers and everything. And the fact that Marquez didn't even put that in account is sloppy police work.
I have a few more questions for you about your partial investigation. Blair Rollins
It was
is
partial.
an alternate suspect?
Yeah, in your case.
You've never met Blair Rollins?
No.
You don't know what motivates Blair Rollins?
I have a very strong idea what motivates Blair Rollins.
You would agree with me that in your job, accurate information be reported.
I mean, yeah.
However,
Full one-on-one, don't make assumptions.
However, you never followed up on Blair Rollins.
I did try to, but came up empty-handed, unfortunately.
And you never located Blair Rollins?
As I just said, no.
And isn't this an example of the police investigative practices that you have spent your lives fighting against?
Sorry, I just want to try to understand what you're asking me so I can give you a perfect answer. Are you saying that I used police practices and it failed me?
No, you You never located Blair Rollins.
No.
And you never followed up on this suspect.
It's not my job to bring in
Objection
new
asked
suspects.
and answered.
Your response?
Your Honor, this witness asked for clarification of the questions that I was asking him, and I was providing so before carrying on with further questioning.
All right, overruled.
And
Could
you
you
never
ask me a question?
and you never followed up on Blair Rollins.
Like I was saying, it's not my job to bring in new suspects. So sure, I put in the effort, but I'm not going to waste my client's money for a very long out investigation.
But isn't not following up and not investigating this further an example of the same police practices that you have spent your life's work fighting against?
I'm sorry. I must not have made myself clear earlier. I did try and follow up on Blair, but came up empty-handed because I didn't have all of the resources like the police do.
Is that
But
a yes
I still put in
or
that
a
effort.
no?
I would say neither. I'll restate my answer. I'm sorry. No, I was not able to fully follow up. However,
Your
I
Honor,
did put in
at
the
this
effort.
time, I object to this witness being non-responsive.
If the witness can just answer the question, please.
Could you ask the question so I can give you a straight yes or no?
Is not following up and not investigating further into this suspect in your own partial investigation an example of the police investigative practices that you have spent your whole life's work fighting against?
Objection ambiguous.
Overruled. You may answer the question if you're able to.
I'm trying my best, Honor, to understand the question, so I'm not being difficult. So if I may have a moment to try and think about my answer. I would say that the way I use my investigation tactics worked for me. Just however, I was unable to locate Blair.
So is that a yes or a no?
No.
And yet this is another fact suggested in your partially conducted investigation.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, a brief one. Professor, was it your job to track down Blair Rollins?
No.
What was your job today?
Really to show where the holes were in the police's case and where to make sure the jury could understand information and weren't being swayed.
Okay, and do you think that your partial investigation was very thorough?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading question.
Your response, counsel?
Your Honor, a leading question is a question that implies the answer within the question, and I did not imply that answer within that question.
Overruled. You may answer.
I would say I did a very thorough investigation for Blair.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, thank you. May this witness step down?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. From the defense, your next witness.
The defense calls Avery Becker to the stand, and we ask that time be stopped while we sanitize the area.
Yes, please stop the timer and let me know when you're ready to begin.
Thank you. And I am sorry for the delay. We were just trying to work with cleanliness.
No, of course. Just let me know when you're ready. We all understand that it's a whole new world we're living in now, isn't it?
It is. Thank you. And we'll let you know. And we cannot hear you, Miss Becker.
Looks like we're still having some technical difficulties here. I can't hear.
No, it seems like your microphone may not be plugged in, Ms. Becker. If you go under where it says mute, the little caret next to it, and that it'll say select a microphone.
Yeah, that's better.
Miss Becker, please state your names. Oh, sorry. Are the timers ready?
Yes.
And I still don't have Miss Becker on my screen. Do you all have her on yours?
No.
All right.
No,
I
Your
do
Honor.
not.
Yeah,
Let's check
I'm
out our
not
audio
sure
visual.
what's happening.
It's okay. It's fine. So let's just make sure that we have that working. We won't start the timer until we have that up and running.
Okay.
We can
From
hear
our
you, but
school,
now we
we've had
can't see you.
trouble.
We can hear you now. So then next to the caret next to the video. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
I can see you.
Yeah.
All right. If
Takes
we can have our
about 5
timers
minutes,
begin.
but we're here.
That's okay. Let's go and have our timer start the clock again. You may proceed.
Please state your name, spelling your last for the record.
My name is Avery Becker. Becker spelled Becker.
Miss Becker, are you currently in high school?
I'm not. I graduated last year.
Where did you graduate from?
I went to Colorado High School, or CHS as we like to call it.
At your time at CHS, were you in any extracurriculars?
Yeah, I was in mock trial.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
It was everything to me. I spent all my time outside of school on it, and I was in it with my best friend, Taylor Perkins. So just all around a really wonderful experience that I dearly miss.
You mentioned that Taylor Perkins was on the team. Was there anybody else on the team that you know?
Yeah, Alex Cifuentes was on the team, as we saw testify earlier.
Are you friends with Alex Cifuentes?
I wouldn't say we are, no. Just merely acquaintances, really.
And did you ever hang out with Alex Cifuentes outside of practice?
No, we never did.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the mock trial team. Did you guys have a coach?
Yeah, Mr. Brackman.
Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with him?
Yeah, it was strained at times. We disagreed a lot about work ethic, and so we had some disagreements, but I still miss him dearly.
Are there any disagreements that stand out to you now?
Yeah, there was an incident after regional competition.
Can you tell me a little bit about that incident?
I won 2 awards at regionals, Best Attorney Award and Best Closing Argument. Mr. Brackman told me that I didn't deserve them, and that made me really upset. So I had this marker in my hand that I was going to use on our whiteboard. So I got angry and took it with me, writing Worst Attorney Award on his car, and it turned out to be a permanent marker.
Why did you write on his car?
Because I was embarrassed and I felt underappreciated. I thought it would be an harmless prank.
How did you feel after you found out it was a permanent marker?
Mortified and ashamed. Like, I truly, in my heart of hearts, thought that it was an expo marker, and to find out that I had caused such a dire consequence was really horrible, and I felt terrible about it.
To your knowledge, did Mr. Brackman find out about you riding on his car?
Yeah, he came out right after me and started to apologize, which makes it 100 times worse, and it makes me feel so much more guilty that he came out after me and saw what I had done to his car and kicked me off the team.
After you were kicked off the team and this incident had happened, did you try and fix what you had done?
Yeah, I would have done anything to fix it. I went to his office the next day, but his secretary told me to leave. So I went to mock trial practice later that day, but I was told by him to leave. And so after I just kept texting, calling, emailing, I just wanted to talk to him.
Were you ever able to talk to Mr. Brackman before his passing?
No.
Did he ever return any of your calls, just to clarify?
No, I never got to talk to him again.
How does that make you feel?
I can't even begin to explain it. I think about him all the time and all the things that I still need to say to him, and I'll never be able to because he's not here anymore. And I don't know if you've ever lost someone, but to feel that helpless and disconnected from them is really makes me feel sick, is the best way to explain it.
We're going to move on to the date of March 5th, 2020. Can you recall what you were doing on March 5th evening?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get to talk to Brackman that day. So Alex and I went to the Fry Shack to cheer me up, and the mall, her house, just our normal places.
You went to the Fry Shack with Alex?
I'm sorry, Taylor Perkins.
And did you see anybody that you knew at the Fry Shack?
Yeah, that's when we saw Alex. Sorry for the confusion there. We also saw the rest of the mock trial team.
Did anything happen with Alex that stands out to you?
Yeah, Alex came and sat with us, and she was giving her condolences about my being kicked off the team, but it was obvious that she didn't mean what she was saying, and it made me really upset.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
All right, Ms. Thompson, your response?
Yes, this is how Ms. Becker interpreted it. It's not coming in for the truth of the matter asserted. And although that is an hearsay answer, again, this is not coming in for the jury to believe whether or not Ms. Cifuentes meant what she was saying. This is merely just coming in so Ms. Becker can explain how she felt.
All right, the objection is overruled. Please continue.
Ms. Becker, after this incident, did you go anywhere?
Yeah, I took a break and then I came back. Taylor and I decided that it would be best to head out. So we went to the mall, but that's it. Then we went home.
We're going to talk a little bit about March 6th. Where did you go did you go anywhere the morning of March 6th?
Yeah, I just drove over to Taylor's house to pick her up for school because that's what we always did. But then we realized my phone was gone and we went to go look for it for the rest of the day.
Did you spend the whole day looking for the phone, just to clarify?
Yes, most of the day up until the afternoon when we ran into the rest of the mock trial team.
And were you with Taylor the entire day?
I was. Yeah, we were never out of each other's sight.
Did you go to Mr. Brackman's house on March 6th?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Your response?
Your Honor, this is not leading. Again, it's open-ended. Ms. Becker can reply the way that she would like to and answer with a yes or no or elaborate as well.
All right, overruled. You may answer.
Ms. Becker, did you go to Mr. Brackman's house on March 6th?
I didn't even know where Mr. Brackman lived. No, I was never there.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Mr. Brackman. How do you feel after his passing?
Well, I feel overwhelmed every single day. And, there's so much regret that I have around his passing. There's so much that I want to apologize for, but I know that I'll never be able to do that. And it's really hard to deal with.
We're going to move back to the mock trial team. You said during mock trial, you and Mr. Brackman got into arguments. After any of these arguments, did you ever feel like hurting Mr. Brackman?
No, absolutely not. I can have disagreements with people and not resort to violence.
Did you ever hurt Mr. Brackman?
I never hurt Mr. Brackman.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor, but before I begin, can I ask for a brief time check?
Can we get a time check, please?
Five minutes and 40 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Becker, you've been on the Colorado High School mock trial team for 4 years now, is that correct?
Yeah, I did it all through high school.
And your coach was Mackenzie Brockman,
Yeah,
whom you
that was my
often
coach.
had disagreements with.
Yeah, we just got into like petty fights all the time.
That
You're
your work was
dumb.
lazy.
Yeah, he was really tough on me.
That your work was unmotivated.
Yeah.
And that she relied exclusively on your looks.
Yeah, he was funny.
And you
but
thought Mackenzie Brockman had an ego.
I think everyone does. He was no exception.
But Ms. Becker, you yourself have an ego yourself, don't you?
I mean, it's human nature.
And that your
I
egos
guess you could say.
clashed- That your egos clashed to the point where you got demoted from your A-team position. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were both very strong personalities.
But then your best friend, Taylor Perkins, quit the team for you.
Yeah, Taylor didn't really care about mock trial. She thought it was a waste of time, so she quit.
And you knew she would quit for you.
Sure, I knew she didn't like
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation. Miss Becker, would you like me to elaborate?
No, I know what speculation means. Would you like to respond, Mr. Damon?
Your Honor, as Avery Becker and Taylor Perkins have been best friends, especially with the communications that they've had, it is her rationally based perception under 701A that she would reasonably know that why and how she would know personally that Taylor Perkins would quit the team for her.
All right, overruled. You may answer.
And you knew Taylor Perkins would quit for you, yes?
I knew that Taylor didn't put much stock into mock trial, and I did, so sure.
And you knew you would get what you wanted.
I don't know if I'd put it that way, but...
That you wanted to get your A position back.
I did. Mock trial was everything.
And you wanted to win awards in mock trial.
Sure, yeah.
To the
It was
point
like...
where you would unravel juries in your competitions.
I mean... They knew what I was. They knew I knew what I was talking about. So
To get
I
the
guess.
verdict that you wanted.
No, I went with my knowledge and talent and hope for the best.
But once you unraveled these jurors, you knew you would get what you wanted.
You can never really predict something like that, but I guess.
And today you want to unravel this very jury.
I am here to tell the truth.
To get what you want.
To tell the truth of what happened.
Let's move on to March 6th, the day that you claim to have lost your phone. You stated earlier on direct examination that Taylor Perkins was the one who told you that your phone was missing.
Yeah, Taylor pointed out I hadn't responded to her messages that morning.
But you state that you woke up that morning and didn't realize where your phone was.
No, I didn't. It's not something I usually check in the morning.
It is your testimony today that you did not realize when you lost your phone it was in the morning. Is that correct?
Right. No, I didn't.
And in this case, you wrote and swore an affidavit statement.
Yeah, I just didn't remember, or I didn't realize that it was gone in the morning.
In which you swore to its authenticity.
Yes.
In which you were allowed to change your affidavit if anything came up.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, permission to show the witness has been marked as her affidavit.
Yes.
And please read silently along with me as I read aloud on line 123. Then on March 6th, I woke up and couldn't find my phone anywhere. This is your
I couldn't. Yep, it was gone. I didn't realize it was gone the previous night and realized it was gone that morning.
And let's go down to the bottom of your statement. That's your signature, isn't it?
Yep.
That you signed.
Yes, sir.
No.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper impeachment. My client, Ms. Becker, has clarified what she is saying, and opposing counsel is still trying to impeach.
Your response, Mr. Damon?
Your Honor, as you've heard from the witness, not only on direct examination and cross-examination, they have stated that Taylor Perkins was the one who alerted them about their cell phone. And when asked about it and allowed the chance to change her answer, she has contradicted herself again, and I am impeaching this witness because her statement is contradicting her current testimony today.
All right.
May I respond?
The jury is instructed to rely on their collective memory. Please continue.
I'd like to, and co-counsel, you can take down the affidavit. I'd like to move on to your prior knowledge of this case, what you heard today. You heard Kyle Cusack testify about an interview you had with the police.
I did.
In which you had a cell phone conversation with Taylor Perkins on March 6th, 2020.
I did text Taylor that day, yeah.
On March 6th?
Yeah.
The day you claim to have lost your cell phone.
Or sorry, I texted Taylor March 5th and March 6th I didn't.
I'd like to move on to your to the day that you vandalized Mackenzie Brockman's car. Later that night, you had a conversation with your mother. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was there when I got home.
Discuss what happened that day you stormed out of practice.
Yeah, it was really upsetting, and so I talked to her about it.
Nowhere in that conversation did you mention that you vandalized Mackenzie Brockman's car.
No, I knew she'd be really disappointed, as was I, so I couldn't talk about it.
And in that conversation, you told your mother you would get back at Mackenzie Brockman if it's the last thing you did.
Yeah, I was being hyperbolic. I wanted to apologize to him if it was the last thing I did.
Yes or no, that is your statement.
Technically.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, a brief one. Miss Becker, when did you realize your phone was gone?
Well, I woke up that morning and I realized that when I went to Taylor's, I didn't have it.
We're going to talk a little bit about your and your mom's conversation. Before you were interrupted, you were saying how you told that you would get back at Mr. Brackman if that was the last thing you did. Can you tell me what you meant by that?
Yeah, I meant that I would make sure I got the chance to speak to Mr. Brackman again. Even if it would be difficult, I needed to make sure that I spoke to him.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, thank you. And this witness may step down. Let's go ahead and move into closing arguments.
Your Honor, if I may have a brief moment to readjust.
Yes, of course. Just let me know when you're ready. And we can go ahead and pause the timer for now.
Your Honor, opposing counsel and members of the jury, this case today was undone, unraveled, and unmasked. Today, you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have seen the unmasking of the killer and the burglarizer of Mackenzie Brockman's residence, Avery Becker, a longtime high school student under Mackenzie Brockman in mock trial, whose egos constantly clashed together. However, her composure was undone during the times before March 5th and March 6th. In the relationship, you heard about the constant bickering between Avery Becker and Mackenzie Brockman, to the point that Avery Becker vandalized Mackenzie Brockman's car. It doesn't matter whether this was done with a permanent marker or a expo marker, the intention there was there. She intended to cause harm. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you heard that on March 6th of 2020, Avery Becker was supposedly with Taylor Perkins. However, the contradiction about the cell phone is a big point for you to consider. Avery Becker, on direct examination and cross-examination, said that she didn't realize her phone was missing until Taylor Perkins told her. However, when looking at her own statement, she said that she woke up and realized she didn't have her phone. The timeline there is not there because the defense wants you to see less and think more that Avery Becker is innocent. You also heard from Taylor Perkins and Avery Becker, coming from Kyle Cusack, that Avery Becker had a cell phone conversation on March 6th, 2020. However, they both claim that the phone was missing, but they still had a text conversation with Avery Becker's phone. And let's look at Exhibit 14, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. In that exhibit, Avery Becker clearly states, as you heard from Jordan Markowitz, that she was going to go to the residence and trash it. And that's exactly what she did. As you heard from Detective Jordan Markowitz, Avery Becker, with her phone around 12:45 p.m., went down Rock Creek Parkway to go to vandalize Mackenzie Brockman's residence. At around 1:05, 1:06 p.m., Avery Becker arrived at the residence, entering through the back door, getting into a scuffle with Mackenzie Brockman, and ultimately, and tragically, stabbing Mackenzie Brockman in the top left shoulder with the chef's knife from Exhibit 5. After that, after the altercation, Avery Becker ran out the front door and Mackenzie Brockman's body lay at the front door, as you've seen from Exhibit 1. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Avery Becker was going to 444 South Flower Street, Mackenzie Brockman's residence, with the intent to burglarize the property. You saw these same exact text messages and the bad blood between Avery Becker from Alex Fuentes, who testified to their text conversation and that very same plan. I am going to go to the house and trash it. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that Avery Becker committed these crimes. But let's go over to what the defense wants you to see. And it's obviously less. First, you heard from Taylor Perkins, who again contradicts statements with their best friend, Avery Becker, who said that they would do anything for Avery Becker, including in the defense of Avery Becker. You heard from Professor Blake Van Owen, who testified that he's never had a great relationship with Kyle Cusack and is prone to bias because of their bad relationship. You also heard that he only conducted a partial investigation, but wants you to believe it with full weight. The less you see, the more you know, as the defense wants you to believe. Then Avery Becker herself testified to the fact that she does not remember exactly when her phone was missing. She contradicted herself, and not only contradicted herself, but Taylor Perkins, as well as the police. Avery Becker, on March 6, 2020, went to 444 South Flower Street and burglarized her coach's house. As evidenced by her statement, I would get back at him if it's the last thing I do. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as the prosecution, we bear the burden of proving to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Avery Becker is guilty of first-degree murder and second-degree burglary. And we have absolutely 100% beyond a reasonable doubt met that burden. It is clear that Avery Becker is guilty. Convict Avery Becker. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, from the defense, please.
Yes, and Your Honor, just before I begin, and as my camera loads, I would like to confirm that timers are ready.
Certainly, let's go ahead and do that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and it doesn't look like my camera has quite loaded.
We'll wait, it's okay. Take your time.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, it appears that my camera has just loaded. Does it appear the same on your screen?
Yes, I'm able to see.
Okay. The less I see, the more I know. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we have heard the case of the people of the state of Colorado versus Miss Avery Becker, and you have been called to determine whether Miss Becker, the defendant in this case, is in fact responsible for the crimes that she has been charged with here today. We saw 6 witnesses take the stand, the first 3 on the behalf of the prosecution. We first saw Detective Jordan Markowitz and Kyle Kuzak take the stand. The detective, along with Mr. Kuzak, laid out stories and investigations backed solely by falsified and partial evidence, and more so, explained to us how there were pieces of evidence in this case that were lost, including not only blood drop photos, but blood splatter photos, meaning that there is evidence that you nor I nor the defendant in this case will have the opportunity to see today. We also saw Alex Fuentes take the stand on behalf of the prosecution today. Alex Fuentes, who explained to us a conversation that supposedly ensued between him and my client, Miss Becker, but we were never able to truly authenticate this supposed text conversation as no effort was made by the prosecution's expert witnesses to gain access to Miss Fuentes' phone itself. We also saw Alex Fuentes make claims of a supposed best friend relationship with my client, Miss Becker, but the less I see of Alex Fuentes testifying on behalf of their supposed best friend here today, the more questions I have not only about their relationship, but about the story that Alex Fuentes has presented us with here today. We also saw 3 witnesses take the stand on behalf of the defense. We saw Miss Becker take the stand, who I'll remind you has no duty to testify here today. She is only here to clear her name. Miss Becker, along with Miss Taylor Perkins, presented to us clear and authentic alibis and testimonies, and the less discrepancies that I see between these testimonies, the more I know about the validity of their alibis from March 6, 2020. We also saw Professor Blake Van Owen take the stand on behalf of the defense today. Professor Van Owen laid out a well-done and thorough investigation into this case and explained to us how the prosecution's investigation was undone, unraveled, and unmasked. And more so, explained to us how there were suspects in this case that the prosecution failed to fully investigate, including Blair Rollins. The less suspects I see presented by the prosecution, the more I know of the lazy job they did, not only in their investigations, but in seeking justice for Mr. Brackman. Ladies and gentlemen, I now ask you to think of yourself as you were as a teenager, and think of someone that you may have bickered with at this age, whether that was your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your coach. But think of how, despite any bickering or arguments that ensued between the two of you, you ended up here. You ended up all right. But what if you hadn't? What if something terrible had happened to that person that you just imagined and you had been blamed? What if you had been subpoenaed to court to plead to complete strangers that you were in fact not the one responsible? You would want them to see you as the bright young student that you were, and you would want them to hear you, especially as they made their final decision in your case. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now direct your attention to jury instructions 7, 8, and 9, all of which outline each and every one of the elements that the prosecution must prove beyond a reasonable doubt in order to meet their burden of proof today. I'll remind you that in order to meet this burden of proof, the prosecution must prove every single one of these elements, and that if they forget to prove even one of these elements, that Ms. Becker must be found not guilty on all accounts. As we can see outlined in jury instructions 7, 8, and 9, the prosecution has not only failed to prove that the crimes charged occurred within the state of Colorado, but that the defendant was in fact the one responsible for any of the crimes charged here today. The less I see of the prosecution's ability to prove each and every one of these elements, the more I know of how their stories and investigations have come undone, unraveled, and unmasked right in front of us here today. the less I see of the prosecution's ability to meet their burden of proof through this undone, unraveled, and unmasked story they've presented us with, the more I know that Miss Becker must be found not guilty on all accounts. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the less I see, the more I know that there is no principled person within this courtroom who could find Avery Becker as anything but not guilty today. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe there's a short period of time left for rebuttal. We'll go ahead and hear rebuttal argument.
Yes, Your Honor, but can I just have the brief time check? I believe it was 11 seconds, but I just want to make sure and clarify for the court.
Certainly.
Yes, it was 11 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you heard the defense say the less discrepancies you see, the more you know that it's valid. However, you have not seen little discrepancy. You've seen entire amounts of testimony of discrepancy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I have just put again the scoring sheet in the chat for the jury to go ahead and fill those out. And then you hit submit on the bottom.
While they are filling out those score sheets, let me just say to all of you, what a great job you have all done. I currently sit in a trial division in Denver County Court, and all of you did a fantastic job, better than some of the actual practicing attorneys who come before me. I'm really impressed with your level of preparation and your presentation. I don't know if you all are interested in going to law school, but I think it would be a good choice for all of you. You did an excellent job. Really enjoyed your themes, and it was great that you were able to weave those themes throughout your entire presentation. That's something that's really important, and that's really missing in a lot of attorneys' work. So I was very, very impressed by that. You all have a really good grasp on the rules that are presented to you. Obviously, these are the rules that are for mock trial, but they're very similar to the rules of evidence and procedure that we use in court. And so again, very impressed with your knowledge of the rules and your presentation. You all did such a fantastic job. I'm so proud of all of you. I have really missed being in trial. And it's, COVID shut everybody down. We were in trial for about 2 weeks and got shut down again. And this just makes me miss it even more. So what a pleasure it was for me to sit with all of you tonight. You're just doing such a great job. Keep up the good work. I can't believe you guys are high school students. Okay, is it okay to ask what school they're from now, or is that not appropriate?
No, can't do it. Because you may have them another day.
All right, well, maybe I'll figure that out one day, but you all did such a great job. I don't know if the jurors are done scoring. I know that we can take a very, very short period of time for some commentary or for some feedback. Do they have another trial tonight?
No,
okay.
They'll have 2 tomorrow.
All right.
Your Honor,
Yes.
behalf of the prosecution, we just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to all of our scoring panelists for taking your time to judge our competitions. It really means a lot to us, and for you guys allowing us a platform like this, even during this COVID era, and being able to support us on a virtual platform. We really appreciate everything that you do for us and for our teams.
You guys did a great job with the virtual platform. I'll tell you, we have just a mess in court every single day, and this all went really smoothly. I know a couple of you had some technical difficulties, but really nice job coming back from that, and that just happens.
Yes, and we just want to thank you again from the defense, just for working with us on all our technical difficulties during our sanitations, and want to thank you for, again, as the prosecution said, just giving us a platform to be able to actually learn about law and what it's like to actually be in a trial. So we just wanted to thank you for that.
I'm just so impressed with all of you. I don't know how, I've wondered how we could do this with jury trials, and obviously you can't do this in a criminal case in real life, but maybe they could in civil cases. You guys just did, it was fantastic. I mean, given what everybody's going through with COVID, I can't say enough. I'm just so impressed. This was so much fun. It just made me miss work again. I just cannot wait to get back to trials. You all just made my night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And I know that the jurors are probably trying to go through those score sheets. I've scored these competitions before, and it does take some time to get that done. And it's not easy, particularly when you all did such a great job. Your coach is working with you, should be really proud of you.
Does any of our scoring panelists have any comments for our students? Steve or Brady?
I'll say something really quick. Hi, everyone. My name is Brady. I'm a lawyer here in Denver. I just want to echo what Judge Rodarte said. Great job. This was phenomenal. You guys all did a wonderful job. Your teamwork, helping out each other with the exhibits, your preparation was evident. You guys all did a fantastic job. I'm so impressed this year more than others, given the hardships that things have gone on. I could say a lot about everyone. I'm going to just pick out two things really quick. Great opening statement by Rachel. You did a really good job of setting up your themes, and then all your lawyers did a great job of following through on those themes all the way through the closing statements. And then I'm also going to pick on Andrew Wynn. Great job as a witness, not being evasive on cross. It's so easy to like start fighting with the person on cross, and you were calm and you answered the questions, and that really lends to your credibility. But like I said, I could say something about everyone, and you all did such a great job, and so impressed.
I'll very quickly add, hi, my name's Steve Pazewski. I'm also an attorney here in Denver. You are all fantastic. And I'm glad I don't have to compete for jobs against any of you. Some general observations that I'll just make that may or may not be helpful. I hope they are. Again, you were all fantastic. I thought the witnesses were also very fantastic. Did a tremendous job, really kind of the memorization that it must have taken to learn all of this and then be able to describe things and answer questions was great. I'll just say in terms of cross-examination, there were a few times when witnesses were cross-examined. You did fantastic jobs. Sometimes you got the answer you wanted and you kept going. Just back off. If you get someone to say, for this is the old, if is the defendant your mother, and the answer is yes, just move on. You've got the information you need to then bring that and argue to the jury at the end. You don't have to push too far, but still fantastic stuff. It's one of the hardest things to do, I think, as a trial lawyer, is not to just push forward and try to get more answers when you have the answer you need. Great theme with the less I see, the more I know, and great way to keep weaving it through the opening and the closing. I thought that was great. And then the last thing I'll say, and it's always very tough, you obviously have a script you want to go through, but still listen to what the witnesses have to say and try to kind of modulate your questioning and your next steps based on their answers, and always try to let the witness answer. But again, fantastic work. Kudos.
And Sue is our final person, and she stayed till the end, but she now had a family emergency, so she had to leave once she finalized her score sheet. But you all did an incredible job. I've been watching these for the last 20 years, and always am beyond impressed. But you guys just rocked it tonight. And in this new platform, I'm so impressed on how you all did and how you all get through it and deal with any issues that come your way. So thank you so much for learning this new platform and getting through the technology. And I would venture to guess that you do better than 90% of the attorneys in the real courtrooms these days. So nice job. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you. If you ever want to come and watch a trial, please feel free to watch them in Denver County Court. We have a lot of trials that go, especially when we start trials, we're going to be backlogged. We will be in trial every Tuesday and Wednesday for the rest of our lives. All right. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone. You are all dismissed, I believe. You're right, correct, Judge?
You are. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, guys.